Hello. We're back for our
second block.
Yeah. I want to say series, but it's not
yes,
really.
Yes, so do I, and it's like...
Yeah, I mean, we've said series catch-up. Recap.
Recap,
in that episode that we did a couple of weeks ago, but it's not really a series. We've just split it up into blocks. Yeah, break it up a bit, just so, you know, because there's just so much other things that happened and that we want to discuss. Like, that's why we did Mary Poppins, because you know, it was his,
and there was a lot for Mary Poppins, which is why there's two.
I know I mean, I knew it was going to be a big one, but I didn't realise it would be that big. Anyway, so we ended the first block on, you know, positive. You know, we liked Sword in the Stone.
Yes.
And then we had fun talking about Mary Poppins. Obviously, we're going to start this one a bit not so fun, because obviously, you know, we can't talk about Jungle Book without talking about Walt Disney's death.
Well, before we go into that, welcome to the Jamie and Stephen show.
Yeah,
Let's talk movies, music and magic, and today we're talking about the Jungle Book.
Yeah, that's the kind of important part of the intro.
You carry on.
Okay. Yes, so, I mean, most Disney fans know that he died during the production of this particular film and never saw it finished. But for those of you who didn't know, then there you go.
You do.
Now you do. So yeah, really sad that he never saw this completed. Because I feel like with this one, he definitely made a bit more of an effort to be more involved.
Yeah,
than, say, Sword in the Stone.
Well, because Sword in the Stone didn't do as well.
Yeah.
He was a bit like, no, I'm having more involvement in this, and that caused a few arguments.
I'm sure it did.
So, but we'll get onto that in a bit.
Okay.
But yes, he did have a lot more to do with this film than the previous two.
And I just want to state that, just in case anybody doesn't know, but I did write down how he did pass. Okay. And it was, he developed lung cancer, which isn't a surprise because he was a really heavy smoker. And but it was a heart attack that actually is what killed him. And it was after having cancer surgery. So he could have lived. Yeah. Which is so annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, on December 15th, at the age of on December 15th in 1966, at the age of 65.
It's no age, really, is it?
No, not now. God.
Even then, I think people lived a little bit longer than that, and
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because it's, you know, it's not too long ago in the grand scheme of things.
I know.
You mentioned about smoking, and in the parks, I don't know if you've ever seen, but when they're trying to get you out the way for the parade and they do their little 2-finger wiggle, and they're like pointing two-way, the reason they do that is because when Walt came around, or it's rumoured this is why they do it, and he used to have his cigar between his 2 fingers, and when he'd point with both fingers.
Out of habit, because he'd always have a cigarette. Yeah.
So when they're pointing with 2 fingers, because that's the rule.
Yeah. Well, even air hostesses do the 2 fingers.
Oh, well, that's what it's meant to represent.
Right, okay. I mean, apparently he would go out, make sure that nobody saw him smoke.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently, like, he would always hide it. He never, like, smoked publicly. It was a private thing. And although he had, obviously, like, a ashtray in the office, he would make sure that... And there isn't many photographs of him smoking. In fact, I don't know if there is any. If there is, it will be 1 or 2.
And I tell you what, I'll go hunting for them.
If
find us on Threads.
Yeah, or if anyone can post, you know, send us the photos. But I'm sure there's not many photos, if at all, of him smoking, because he was very conscientious about the fact that he didn't want to be seen smoking. So, which I think is quite a good thing.
Yeah, I think it was the turn of, because I know in the UK it was seen as sophisticated and sexy up until about the late 50s.
Yeah.
And then in the 60s, it kind of turned a little bit like, oh, you're common if you smoke.
Yeah.
And we see things like characters on television who are working class characters, and they're seen as the smokers, whereas upper class
aren't.
Stop, basically. There's a few, which is kind of a linger over from that period. For Disney, it had been Cruella de Vil.
Yeah.
Here in the UK, Lady Penelope.
Yeah.
She smokes.
Oh, God. But yeah, I think it's good that he was well aware that, that he was protective of his image and the image of the brand. Yeah. And clearly he was well aware that children and families, are what provided the income. So he clearly wanted to not be seen with this dirty habit. So
I wonder what brand he smoked. The only reason why I ask, and that's such a random question, is obviously some of his competition would have been Hanna-Barbera, so Scooby-Doo, Flintstones things, and the Flintstones actually advertised cigarettes.
Oh, I mean, I know Marlboro was like really popular and Lucky Strike.
So I'm wondering whether it was a bit like bit of a, well, you can't have, this brand is the best, maybe, but I'm not going to advertise that.
Yeah, I also read as well that apparently his secretary, who you see in the Saving Mr. Banks film, at the end of every day, she always poured him a drink. Which would have been really common for, big CEOs or big boss men to have a drink at the end of the day. However, it was like hardly had any alcohol in it. She filled it mainly with water and ice, and it had a dash of whiskey. How good is that?
Just to take the
So he clearly was not really much of a drinker. It was just cigarettes. And obviously the job was his,
And I think some of that's kind of mismanagement on his behalf, because he wanted to be involved in everything.
Yeah.
And to get it bigger and bigger and bigger, which, it paid off.
Yeah.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
Because obviously we see, not so much in the jungle, but with the next film and the following films, that actually no one knew what to do without Walt.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know.
And if his brother hadn't taken on the Florida project, would we have Disney World?
I know.
So without Disney World, without what is considered good animation films, where would we be? Where would the Disney studios be now? So
But luckily it's still here.
Yes,
and
we
we'll
can
be
sit here and talk about it. Yes.
Right, so Jungle Book.
Yes.
This is the first of this second block. So it was released in 1967, so a year after Walt passed.
Yeah. 10 months.
Oh, 10 months.
10 months.
Okay. So October.
Yeah.
Right, okay. It's the 19th classic.
Okay.
An hour and 18 minutes, so we're still bordering between an hour and a quarter and an hour and 20. Right, I've got my IMDb synopsis.
Go on then.
Bagheera the panther and Baloo the bear have a difficult time trying to convince a boy to leave the jungle for human civilization.
I have almost an identical one.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's yours?
A stroppy child does everything he can not to go home, only to wander off at the end.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah, he's really stroppy. But I suppose at the age that he is supposed to be, what is he supposed to be like? 8, 9?
Yeah, I think that he's just a little... Yes, it's 8. 8, because they have 8 rains later, don't they?
Oh, yes.
At the beginning.
Yeah, so 8 going on that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a little shit.
Oh, yeah. Like,
he really is a little shit.
I was just like, I don't know what those wolves were doing.
Oh!
But it wasn't parroting.
No, I mean, they probably did their best because obviously they would have had a big pack to see to.
Yeah.
But, oh my. Like, when I was a kid and I watched this, you know, obviously you don't see these things. No. But now that I'm older and I have my own boys, I mean, I'm siding with Bagheera.
Yeah. Yeah, Bagheera is kind of the...
Yeah.
The proper grown-up. Car?
Yeah, Car the snake. Like, yeah, he needed to sort of, you know, take him in and...
eat him?
Well, maybe not eat him, but, you know, scare him a bit.
Yeah, I suppose,
but that didn't really work.
It's just, it was like, oh, I'll talk to Shere Khan. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No. Right, it cost $4 million and grossed $205 million worldwide.
Well, normally I talk about...
But I think that's obviously including all the re-releases.
Well, normally I talk about the DVD and all the stuff like that.
At the end?
At the end, yeah. But there are a few bits regarding this. So, bear with me.
Oh, he's checking his notes.
I am checking my notes. So, in the UK, the video was released in 1993. By January 1994, it had sold 4.9 million VHSs in the UK alone. And, because they don't sell VHS anymore, it beat Titanic in sales.
For DVD release?
For videos.
Oh, for videos.
Yeah, it is the most popular VHS release. So,
weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, just when you said, oh, it made that, it's like, oh, it made even
I
more on
shocked.
video.
Yeah.
And
like, I knew it had a big fan base, and I know
my
that...
nana loved this film.
It was my dad's favourite.
Yeah, my nana had this on video. I had it on video.
Yeah, I had it on video.
It's... Yeah.
And I had the sing-along video that featured the two main songs out of this.
I had Jungle Cubs.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I had it on video and I've still got the DVD.
Okay. I watched Tailspin.
Yeah, I was more of a Rescue Rangers than Tailspin.
Right. Yeah.
So.
I did like it. I think I've got the DVDs of Tailspin. I think you got me the DVDs of Tailspin, actually.
Yeah, I got you DuckTales. I remember that. Did I get you Tailspin as well?
Yeah, I think you got me my Rescue Rangers. Yeah. I've got all three.
Yeah. I do remember getting... There we go then.
Yeah. Right, so, director. So we've got Wolfgang Reitherman.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah. Well, he's in charge in the 60s.
Yeah, clearly.
Basically.
Well, yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Whether he's done a good job, I'm not sure. And his son features again.
Yes.
Playing Mowgli. Apparently they did cast somebody else, but his voice broke, so
same as Arthur.
Yeah, exactly the same as Wart from Sword in the Stone. And he would go on to play Christopher Robin.
Yes.
In Winnie the Pooh as well. So his voice acting career goes on for a couple of more years.
Yeah. His name was Bruce.
Yes, yeah.
I appreciated the name.
Yeah.
It's such a random name.
I know, Bruce.
Wolfgang.
Wolfgang and then Bruce.
Bruce, yeah.
Yeah.
He was 9 years old when he did the role.
So about the same age then his character. That's quite cute, yeah. Because he's now a director himself. Does nature documentaries. I think I said that in Sword in the Stone when we spoke about him. But yeah. And yeah, so the other characters we've got, obviously Baloo.
Yes.
The main guy, played by the amazing Phil Harris.
Who, up until I did the search for these notes, and I'm ashamed to say, I thought was Phil Silvers.
Who's Phil Silvers?
Bosco. Not Bosco, what's his name? Sergeant Bilko.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He was in a Carry On film. He's famous of his time, but I think everything that was done at that time kind of has faded now. But yeah, so Phil Harris and Phil Silvers are different people.
Yes, they are.
Um,
and obviously Phil is with us for a few films.
Well, yeah. Yes, he is. So originally, the character was going to be a bit like an Ed Wynn character, who we'd know as being the Mad Hatter, and Uncle Albert from Mary Poppins. And basically, that's who they were looking for, someone like that. They even tried to get exchange students from India to come in and record, so it was an authentic Indian voice. Unfortunately, that didn't work. There was nothing. I think with a character like this, you've got to have the charisma with it. And Harris almost turned down the role.
Well, I've got an extension to him getting the role.
Yes.
So apparently it was originally going to be John Wayne.
Oh, okay.
The famous...
Yeah, John Wayne.
actor. And
somewhere out there right now, Luke's listening to me attempt to do a Gaga song and his ears are picking up.
Yeah, it was Disney's personal choice that John Wayne played Baloo. But Wayne wasn't able to commit to the recording sessions at the time. I didn't manage to find out the film that he was obviously clearly committed, because I think he did loads of films.
Yeah, he'd have been
I think he just went from one set to another. But anyway...
Well, it's the same set in California. In the back of the Universal Studios, there's
I suppose it's not that far,
cowboy. No, it's a cowboy set. And it's like a T-junction almost.
Okay.
And, I mean, half of it's gone now. But basically, one set would have been on one side, and then they'd have turned the camera around and put different flowers out, and then it was a completely new set.
But due to other commitments, he couldn't commit, and he suggested Phil Harris, because that was his really close friend. And Harris... apparently loosely based his performance on John Wayne, because he felt when he realised that Walt wanted John Wayne. So he would, the speech pattern, he tried to mimic his friend.
Well, one of the reasons he was going to turn it down is he couldn't perform the script as the script was written. So the directors, Walt and everyone, basically was like, we're going to give you more freedom, read it again.
Okay.
So we read it again, and it resulted in most of Baloo's lines being improvised.
Yeah, I think King Louis was as well. Yeah.
It was very much they were given the freedom.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Phil Harris obviously goes on in Thomas O'Malley in The Aristocats, Little John in Robin Hood. And, as you mentioned, Baloo in Tailspin. Yeah. Which was one of his last roles.
Yeah. Which I'm glad that he kept. I know in the sequel it's John Goodman.
Who does a good job.
Yeah, he does.
He does do a good job.
But, it's like I just hear
Phil
Sully.
Harris. Yeah,
I just hear Sully when I hear John Goodman. But, yeah. The Bagheera is played by Sebastian... Cabot, that's it. I couldn't read my writing. Who was in the previous film as well.
Well, just to go into that a little bit. Obviously, this caused a little bit of a argument backstage.
Oh,
yes.
Oh,
which I'll go more on to when we talk about how the film was devised and making of. But the director-producer, Bill Peet, wanted Howard Morris. Now, Howard Morris would have been the gopher in Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
So he wanted that voice.
Oh, no.
Walt was adamant that it should not be that. And the two choices were between Carl Swenson, who was Merlin, and Sebastian Cabot, who was Sir Ector.
Yeah.
And Sebastian Cabot ended up being the narrator for Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. Oh, it had to be him. It could not be anyone else.
No, I agree. I agree with... Knowing what the gopher sounds like.
I know. It's obviously not what that person sounds... Yeah.
But, yes, it was... but we'll get onto that a little bit more. Put a little pin in it. Join us later. Keep listening.
Car is played by our favourite Sterling Holloway.
He is. Now...
Have you got another fact?
I do.
Oh my God, Stephen!
Oh, I have literally scoured the internet and books and everything, and I have enough facts to last him.
Wow.
For the film.
Yeah.
This one, I wanted to just put in this one because I thought it was quite nice. He enlisted in 1942 to World War II at the age of 37 and was put in special services. There, he helped develop a show which raised $350,000 for charity. At this time, he had already voiced Mr. Stork in Dumbo and Flower in Bambi. I just thought that was a nice...
Flower?
Yeah, in Bambi. No, you can't. Oh no, that's Thumper. But he's Flower.
The adult one.
Yes, he's the adult skunk.
Yeah.
So yes, that's...
Wow,
that's
amazing.
And I also have a fact about another ongoing voice artist, but I'm sure we'll get to that one.
Yeah. Shere Khan is played by George Sanders.
I didn't actually write anything down about Shere Khan, the George Sanders.
Oh, well, I have an interesting fact about him.
Go on.
So he refused to sing.
Fair enough.
Yeah, refused, point blank.
I wish you would.
And they had to get somebody else to sing his voice part, which I have written down. I'll get back to it. I've written the person's name down, but he just refused. He says, "No, I'm not singing." And he just only did the voice actor. It doesn't say why he wouldn't sing, but he just said no.
I mean,
there's only one bit.
Yeah, that's what friends are for.
That's what friends are for. It's one line, George. Come on.
Not even singing it really. He's just talking over. I mean, it's a good deep voice. I will say that.
Yeah. But I was so shocked that it was somebody else because it does sound like him. So
almost
identical. But I've got the name somewhere, so when we go through the facts, I'll get to it.
We'll get to that one.
And then lastly, King Louis is played by Louis Prima. And interestingly, he is not what people think. He's not black. He's not American.
Well,
he's Italian, and he's white.
Well, actually, originally, so the reason behind that, and I think, if anything, this should be one of the most important facts that even Disney should be like, yes, this happened.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of negative thoughts about Disney in the past, with sexism, racism and things. So this should be one of their things. Originally, Louis Armstrong was considered for the role.
Yeah.
Who sung What a Wonderful World.
Yes.
It was Richard Sherman who pointed out the racial undertones of a black actor playing an ape.
Yeah.
And basically this shouldn't... No. And I regret I didn't write down the name of the organisation. It's something like the National...
is it NAACC?
Yeah. They actually were worked with Walt.
Yeah, because by this time they've already banned Song of the South.
Well, they were working with Walt to
better
with that film yeah. So
good.
Actually, it.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, and I don't know whether this is more ignorance or just how far we've come culturally. Until I read that, I never linked the two. I never linked a black actor playing an ape.
Yeah. And apparently, the voice that you hear is Louis Prima's voice. I'm saying he's not American. He is American. He's Italian American. He's not African American. But that apparently is how he talks in real life. He's a jazz artist. And like, I've got a fact about them all as a cast.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people have that misunderstanding of King Louis, or that he was supposed to be played that way. That is how the actor speaks.
So
say actor, singer, performer.
The way that King Louis moves is based on Louis Prima.
Yeah.
There is no undertones or anything.
No.
Basically, as well, it was Disneyland Records president Jimmy Johnson who suggested Prima. And I seem to recollect a fact that I haven't written down, and I don't know why I've not written it down. But basically, the reason behind the song, I Want to Be Like You, and the reason why it's jazz, is because the Sherman Brothers said, what do apes do? They swing. Jazz. Swing.
Oh my God!
Why didn't I write that down?
So clever.
No, I bet you I've written it underneath the song section in my thing.
Oh, so clever.
Yeah, so this film, and when we get to the Aristocats, it's kind of, it shows what how clever the Sherman Brothers were.
Oh yeah.
And it was them that suggested the racial undertones. It was them that got the whole, I want to be like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of music, will we move on to...
I think I've got one or two more.
Okay.
Facts. Bear with. Oh, no, we've kind of gone through the majority of them. However, the Beatles were going to be the Vultures.
Yes, I did.
And it was John Lennon that said no.
Thank God.
I don't know. I think that would have worked, because they are the
They are, but at the same time, like, no. It's like when I read that the Spice Girls was going to be the Muses in Hercules. Like, no!
No, I mean, that's different.
No. They need to be played by actors. I get that, certain things, like the song at the end of the film, should be sung by really popular artists at the time, which obviously Disney does go on to do and have a really good run of that. But no, I think that was a really good decision that John Lennon made, because like, they were rock and roll. Like, they weren't family.
I'm not too sure which year the Beatles broke up.
Well, it was before...
Was it before 1967?
No, I think it was before 1970. I know that.
Yeah,
so they...
Answers on a postcard then, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they formed in 1961 or 62.
Yeah,
they hit America in 63.
So that's when this film would have been starting to make
a good, like, 5-6 year run.
Oh, okay. So maybe they were still together when this film was released.
Yeah.
Because that would have been awkward.
I know.
That would have been awkward. It would have been really good publicity, because it had been their last, together.
Yeah, I did. I wrote down the thing about the vultures, but no. But it was basically the same as what you've just said.
Well,
But the fact is that they still made them look and sound.
They did.
Yeah. But which is another thing when we get to talking about what we think of the film, is one of my irks.
Hattie Jr. was played by Clint Howard, who voices Rue.
Aww. And
Darlene Carr, who played Human Girl.
she just sings.
She dubbed... Now, I haven't seen the film properly, so I can't tell you, but dubbed the high voice for Kurt in The Sound of Music.
Oh! Okay.
So
right.
yes.
Okay.
They're my other little facts.
Time,
yeah.
And obviously Verna Felton plays the female elephant, and this will be her final role?
It is her final role.
Yeah.
She died, was it the day after?
The day after Walt Disney?
Walt Disney.
Or the day before?
Day before.
The day before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Verna Felton's role was the last before death. 1 day before Walt Disney. And her first role was playing an elephant. So she's... How weird is that?
Verna Felton has a star on the Walk of Fame, and it's at 1717 Vine Street.
Did you go see it?
I did.
Did you?
Yes.
Well done.
We wrote a list.
Was that on your list?
Yeah.
Oh, Stephen.
Yeah. Oh, I went through. But I had like a huge list. Mine was like 4 or 5 pages long. Oh my God. I had people like...
Luke's was just gaga.
Yeah. And yeah, we went outside the what's that famous?
The Chinese theatre.
No, it's opposite that.
Oh.
Anyway.
That's
where we're all like Disney, Mickey Mouse, and all there are. We've seen Kermit the Frog, and yeah, we went to go see this. I've also seen Deborah Messon's and Eric McCormack's.
Oh, okay.
Because if you're going to go,
yeah.
So yeah.
So the songs, not as many as Mary Poppins.
No.
And one was not written by the Sherman Brothers, and it would be their hit.
The Bare Necessities.
It is, yeah. So we've got Colonel Huffy's March, The Bare Necessities, I Want to Be Like You, Trust in Me, That's What Friends Are For, and My Own Home. But yeah, it was Terry Gilkis who wrote Bare Necessities, and he was nominated for Best Song.
I know that he was originally, and this goes back to some of the making of bit that we'll get onto in a bit. But basically, his tone of music that he created was too dark.
Yes, I read that. Yeah,
and that's
why the Sherman Brothers got brought in.
Yeah, and he was replaced, but they retained that song, and good
because it's like the best song.
Yes, I prefer.
Oh, you prefer I Want to Be Like You?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe slightly better.
It wouldn't bother me if you was to say, "Oh no, I prefer that one or this one."
No, either is good. Yeah, they're the only good songs, really.
I like Trust in Me, but not for. No. I won't put it on.
No, you're not going to say, Alexa, play Trust in Me by God. Oh, she's come on.
Trust Issues by Drake from Spotify.
Alexa, stop. There are other smart home devices available. She didn't even pick the right song.
I know, she didn't even pick the right song. And that was not a paid advertisement. That was a genuine mistake. I did not know she would be on. I have to have mine on the red. I have to always have the red button on.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, because Finlay randomly goes up and asks her questions, and I'm like, oh. Anyway, right. Did you have anything else about the songs?
No, that was it about the songs.
So we'll head into the facts.
Yes, I can tell you. So shall we start at the beginning and make our way up to the end?
Yes.
Why not?
So you want to speak about the process, the production side,
yes,
before the animation starts.
Yes.
Yeah. Pre-production.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
The original idea to make the Jungle Book was in the 1930s.
Oh my.
Yeah.
As far back as that?
Yep. Obviously it was put on hold with everything else.
Yeah.
It took 10 years for Disney to acquire the film rights. Because there was already a Jungle Book film, a live action one. And another company owned the rights to make the film.
Oh, okay.
So I think those rights, they started negotiations in the early 1950s.
Okay.
And 10 years later, the early 1960s, is when he acquired the rights.
Okay. So he would then be the second... This would be the second version of the story.
It's the second big screen version.
Okay.
I mean, one thing to say, and it's been said about others, the Jungle Book, the Disney version, has very, very little to do with the books.
Oh, yeah. But it's... The story itself has been made so many times.
And the some of the complaints about this film is it's not the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
You could argue that.
Yeah.
I haven't read the Jungle
No, I've
Books
not read the Jungle Book.
It's a series of books, the Mowgli stories. So, but the original concept was by Bill Peet, which I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote this down.
Scandalous.
Yes!
So, just to give a bit of background on him, because obviously I talked a lot about Joe Grant in previous films, previous podcasts, and I did a little Hero Awards.
Yes, you did.
Yes. And actually, I think Pete deserves a bit of credit as well. So he joined while Snow White was in production. And he moved on to work on Pinocchio, Fantasia and more. He, I believe, was going to be he did the in-between work for Donald Duck.
Okay.
So the artist would do the thing and he would draw like the in-between bits. Not something he enjoyed doing. Few swear words came out and he's quoted.
Oh.
You know, he does effing ducks and he's had enough of this duck. He was not happy.
Oh my.
And he was about to leave. And he applied for a job within the Disney company. He applied for it. And I can't remember what it was doing, but basically he was about to walk out when a letter arrived on his desk to tell him he'd got the job and he was moving away from Donald Duck.
Okay.
So he desperately hated that duck.
Right.
He solely storyboarded The 101 Dalmatians and The Sword in the Stone, and he has been the only person in Disney history to ever do this by himself.
Okay.
It's always been a collaborative effort.
Uh-huh.
He did do the storyboard for the Jungle Book. There was no reason why he shouldn't. He'd done the previous two.
Uh-huh.
Now, the original storyboard included a hunter who tried to set fire to the jungle to kill Shere Khan and get King Louis's treasure. However, Mowgli stops him and the hunter is killed by Shere Khan. However, Mowgli then uses the hunter's gun to kill Shere Khan.
Yeah, well, the hunter is featured in the live-action remake.
Because the live-action one, they actually went back to Bill Peet's.
Yeah.
A lot of the concepts and incorporated it.
Oh,
in,
it's
different,
very
it's
dark. Oh god, yeah.
What was unhappy? He was now starting to keep an eye on more animation, as we made before.
Yeah.
And Pete and Walt had a few disagreements throughout his time at Disney, and basically Walt said that he was not happy with the tone of the film, and they argued. On Bill Peet's 49th birthday, the 29th of January 1964, he quit. So it was during the preliminary recording for the voice of Bagheera, and basically
he's had enough.
He had such difference of opinions, and
well, he wasn't the only one, was he?
No,
this is a recurring thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, no, I'm sorry. He clearly has a vision, and he's in charge, and whether you like it or not.
I think, and this was one of the things that others have mentioned as well. They basically, Walt would go off and play with his trains or his little park, and then he would come back, and take over, And actually, in Pete's defence, when the original outline for the Jungle Book went out, Disney wanted to make a more serious film similar to Bambi. So he didn't want the anamorphic. I wrote it down phonetically. Yeah,
anamorphic. Like what Zootopia
somewhere else. Yes.
Yeah.
Anthropomorphic. Is the word.
Yeah, that's it.
He wanted them to be like Bambi, and that's what
Bill
Peet did. And he also made the character of King Louis up He doesn't feature.
Yeah,
in the
he's not
books.
in the book.
No. So.
But yeah, all other versions of this film after this, he is featured. He's not necessarily called King Louis.
No.
But he is featured in some way. But
so there was a bit of.
Yeah, I did read as well that to add to that he had nothing but nice things to say about Walt Disney, and even in his autobiography.
Yeah, I did hear that, and he was very.
So the disagreements and whatnot, I couldn't really find. It was clearly work-based. It was not personal.
No.
And I think that's whereas obviously the other guy, I can't remember who it was.
You know about my mate, Joe Grant.
Yeah, was it Joe Grant?
Joe Grant.
No,
what?
from Sleeping Beauty.
Oh no!
And he had to. They never spoke.
Oh yes. I don't have the name to hand.
It was a weird name, wasn't it?
Maybe.
Oh, never mind. But yeah, it's not the first time that he's fallen out through a work thing. But that other guy, I'm sure they didn't talk.
No, they didn't.
Although again, he wouldn't speak badly of Walt Disney after he died.
No.
But anyway, but yeah.
Somewhere else in a different book.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, it was. I remember.
That was
No, it was 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Walt hated the background of 101 Dalmatians, hated it all, and made it very clear. And they fell out. They never spoke until shortly before Walt died, when he gave him a smiley nod. And for some reason, I think it's Ken Anderson.
No, it can't be.
Because he didn't quit. Look at us sat there in the middle of the podcast, just going through our notes. But yes, we can come back to.
Oh yeah. No. Ken Anderson came up with the Xerox for 101 Dalmatians. And Bill Pete's original draft was so perfect that he had little involvement. Walt Disney felt Bill Pete's original draft was so perfect that he didn't really get involved with the making of 101.
Fair enough.
But yeah, anyway. Back to Jungle Book.
Yes.
So.
Larry Clemens. He was brought on board.
I wrote him down as well.
He kept the characters that Pete had worked on, but he changed King Louis into a more friendlier character because he was the villain.
Oh, okay. Well, he is sort of a villain.
Yeah. And he had Shere Khan, who was the villain.
Yeah.
And then King Louis was also a villain because, and if I remember correctly, it was because there was treasure underneath the castle, and he shows Mowgli the treasure in exchange for fire.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to burn down the jungle.
I've got that Ken Anderson actually storyboarded the final scene.
Oh.
Apparently it was at the same time that the Sherman Brothers, almost at the same time that they'd written the My Own Home song.
Oh, okay.
And it's everything that the Sherman Brothers had envisioned while writing the song was up on the storyboards. They brought Anderson up to their office and played him the song, and he immediately began to cry. Obviously, Richard Sherman must have known, because he's still alive and he's got so many stories, so he obviously remembered that encounter. But I thought that was nice. And the zero graphic system that was used in 101 Dalmatians, because Ken Anderson obviously did, that was used in this, but they did hand ink some details. Apparently, like the lips on the girl at the end, those little things were hand inked. So,
I know that. So in other films, you usually have one animator per character, but in this film, it was one animator per sequence.
I think that's how they do it now.
Well,
is it?
You kind of have. I'm not sure how that's done now, but in the 90s, I know that you had specific animators for people like the Genie, Jasmine, and that.
Yeah, character designs, but a sequence was put, because on the Frozen 2.
Oh, no, la 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 la.
Okay, right, okay.
Yeah, so basically that's... I know that Ken Anderson led the character designs and whatnot, but yeah, one animator per sequence. It's the first time that it happened.
Okay.
And just while we're on of animation, the Wolf Cub scene at the beginning is reworked, recycled animation from 101 Dalmatians.
Oh, of like the puppies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you can tell.
Right.
Even when I watched it, I was like, that looks exactly like 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and it was.
Well, speaking of characters, I wrote this down while I was watching it. Do you know at what point Shere Khan makes an appearance?
Oh, I mean, how long's the film? An hour and 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, he makes his appearance at is it 45, 50 minutes?
47 minutes into the film.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
I did not realise it took that long for the main villain
Do you know what?
I know it's not going to be the only film that does this, but still, I was like, God, I really thought he was in it more.
So one of the things that they do, especially in B movies, so in the 1950s, we've got a lot of, they came from outer space.
Yeah.
And basically you kept the monster, the alien and whatever, right up until towards the end. Because whatever you did was not going to be as scary as what was in people's minds.
Yeah.
So you usually had very little of them, and I think this just follows suit. Also, probably more likely the reason, they struggled to animate Stripes.
Yes, I did read that.
So, maybe it was a case of just keep going back.
That could be.
Because he's not seen in his full body. It's mainly his head and neck at some points.
There is, but when he's like through the grasslands, and then obviously, but when he's lying down and he's got Ka, you can see his full body, and then obviously at the end with a big fight scene. Have you got any more about pre-production?
No.
I've got one about the story.
Go for it.
So it's to do with Ollie Johnson.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so apparently Disney included the ending with the girl. He wanted a girl to entice.
A good enough reason to leave.
Yes, which Ollie Johnson apparently hated and tried to get this changed. He said that it was lazy, but apparently when the more he began to feel it was the right... No, sorry, I can't read my writing. It's because I've written it so fast. But yeah, basically he just didn't like it. He thought it was a lazy way of finishing it.
And I agree.
However, I agree.
Yeah.
However, later he was said that he was glad that Walt didn't listen to him. I feel it's a bit cliche.
Yeah.
The whole, it's a girl that's, But I suppose at that time...
I tell you what always makes me laugh when she drops a thing and Baloo's like, she did that on purpose.
Yes! She did!
She did do that.
She
was there fluttering her eyelashes at a 9-year-old child.
Hold on, I'm just checking that I don't have anything else. We mentioned about how George Sanders obviously wouldn't sing, and that Louis Prima, that is how he talks, and you said, well, in the 40th anniversary DVD release, it's in there that the way that the animals are based on their voice actors. So their mannerisms and body language, all of that, animators did watch them and did take that. But apparently George Sanders in particular is the most obvious in resemblance.
Okay.
Now I don't know because I don't think I've seen him in a live action. But apparently out of all the characters, Shere Khan is the one that's the most like his voice actor. Which I think is amazing achievement considering it's a tiger and he walks on all fours.
Yeah.
To get the facial expression on that and the body language on a tiger from a human being is it just shows how talented the animators were.
With Prima and Harris, they recorded 2 Jungle Book albums, and it was the first one, which was the soundtrack, and then they did a second one, and it was because of how well they worked together.
Yeah, but yet they never met.
And they never met.
They never were in the same room. It was
never recorded at the same time. I know, and yet they just worked amazing. Oh, and that song. Yeah,
you'd think
works.
They were in the studio together.
Yeah. I mean,
especially
the end
the
when they add,
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
I have 2 facts about After.
Yeah, I've got one about After as well. So I'll let you go first.
Okay.
I said the same.
So, after a studio screening of the finished film, Walt Disney's personal nurse Hazel George came up to Ollie Johnson in tears and told him that the final shot where Bagheera and Baloo walk off into the sunset was perfect and that it was just the way that Walt had gone out.
Oh.
I know. When I read that, I was like, oh.
No, I'm not crying. You're crying.
I was like, wow. I mean, she must have been really close to him at the time because we know that when he was diagnosed, he didn't have long. It was very quick.
Yeah.
So, for her to say that, she must have definitely been around him for a long time. That last year.
I know there's a lot of sadness around that whole time. The fact that his secretary had written a letter to his sister to say, oh, well, we'll write to you after Christmas, because he had written to his sister every year since he'd moved away from the family home kind of thing. And he was like, just wants to let you know that he's doing well, and he's feeling a bit poorly, but he'll write to you in the new year. And obviously...
No, that never happened.
It never happened.
Yeah, because the hospital was across from...
Yeah, it was over there.
It was literally across the road.
Yeah.
Because apparently he was only in there permanently, the last...
Yeah, it would literally...
really, few weeks.
I mean, I'd have to look more up to it. And again, there's sections in Jim Corcus books that focuses on that time. And I was reading about that when I was in the airport on the way back from Vegas. And it's not so much a difficult read, because it's not, but you kind of just, as I say, you have that thing with the letter. Yeah. You have the fact that what his last words written down were. Yeah. No one knows what that's about. No. And just different bits that he was involved in. I mean, we get to the next film. Yeah. And we're literally to the point where he's working on animated features or live action and animated things literally up until his death. Yeah. So it is difficult, and
and my final fact is Gregory Peck was the president of the Academy Awards in Motion Picture Arts at the time that Jungle Book was released, and he tried his hardest to get full-length animated feature films nominated for Best Picture.
So they should be.
In particular, The Jungle Book.
Yeah.
But he couldn't convince the members to do so, and apparently he resigned in 1970. When he kept fighting a losing battle, and obviously it wouldn't be until 1991 until Beauty and the Beast was the first ever.
Well, do you know what? When it comes to all of those awards and things, what they actually need to they're useless, they're pointless, they're not the right awards. Yeah. What really matters is our scores.
Yes, of course.
That will come at the end. With the premiere, the premiere, as I mentioned, was 10 months after Walt's death, and the whole event was considered a fundraiser for Los Angeles Zoo, which had only opened the previous year.
Wow, that's good. I never knew that.
No. Los Angeles Zoo. That's not the one featured in The Wild, is it? Or is that New York?
I thought that was New York.
Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to it. We'll find out.
Oh, yeah.
God,
when we get to that
get
one.
To it. So, yes.
Yeah. So, thoughts?
Well, I've got video and stuff.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
And, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll just blabber for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Then we'll get to thoughts. It was re-released in the US in 1978. 1984 and 1990. However, in the UK it was released in 1976, so we actually received its first re-release.
Okay.
And its most recent re-release, which was September 2023, to celebrate 100 years. And I think it was for one weekend, and I was going to go and see it.
Was you?
Yeah, I wanted to go and see it on the screen, because my nana's birthday is in September and it's her favourite Disney film.
Okay.
So it worked. But yeah, we couldn't go. We couldn't go on. They couldn't make the date. So, it's the 7th most popular sound film of the 20th century in the UK.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
VHS in the US of A, 1991. I mentioned before it was released in 1993 here, with some really good sales figures. First DVD release in 1999 and Blu-ray is 2014. It was released first day on Disney Plus. However, it is now not available on the kids' profile.
Okay.
Due to the racial undertones, and that happens a few times around this era as well. Elements in the film were recycled in Robin Hood.
Yeah, we know that.
When we get to Robin Hood, we'll probably have more to say, and in Winnie the Pooh.
Oh. Okay.
And I think in The Black Cauldron.
Oh. Okay.
There was a sequel made in 2003.
Yes.
And it was so popular. I'm giggling. They were actually going to make a third film.
Oh my god. I mean, to be fair, the song in
I have blocked it out.
Is good.
I mean, it was
the
straight.
Jungle Rhythm.
It was straight to video in the US, but in the UK it received a cinema release.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And I think I went to go and see it.
Oh my god.
Because it's my nanny's favourite film.
Yeah. I think when it came out, we moved to Spain that year, 2003. So I never saw it till years later.
Yeah, I mean, I have it
I think with Disney Plus.
Oh, I have it on DVD and I watched it then.
Right.
And it's a good attempt at a sequel, especially with the voices not being around, and it is a good attempt, but there was also spin-off Tailspin from 1990 to 1991 and Jungle Cubs. There was a live action remake
94
in 1994. I was going to say, do you remember why?
I actually really liked it.
There was also a direct to video remake.
Sequel. No, I've not seen that one.
Released in 1998. And obviously the live action and CGI one in 2016.
Yes.
Easter eggs. It appears in House of Mouse. A load of characters appeared there. Characters appear in Aladdin 3, King of the Hill.
Oh my god!
And Lion King 1.5.
Oh, right, okay.
I think they're shadows, I'm not too sure on that.
Okay.
And weirdly, characters appear in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but that was set in the 1940s and this film is the 60s. So I have an issue there.
Oh, yeah.
You do have an issue.
Okay.
So that's the afterness. Do you have anything else fact-wise?
No.
No? Okay. What was your... Let's forget the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Forget all of them. What was your score?
Okay. Well, my thoughts.
Okay, yes.
And then I will explain my score.
Okay.
Yeah. So straight away, this film has been on.
Yeah,
it's all my life.
Yeah.
But to sit down and really pay attention, and being the age that I'm at, I think it's one of those films where it's perfect for kids. And I think it's only successful because of a certain generation that's holding on to what they believe was a good film. But I think they're seeing what they're actually... I don't think they really pay attention to the film itself. They just watch it with enjoyment, which is fine. Films aren't necessarily got to be...
Yeah.
It's for our entertainment, and if it gives people joy, that's fab. It's done its job. But when I rewatch this, like... The voice acting, it just doesn't make sense. Like, none are from India, not a single one,
no, yeah.
And none are even like made to like be from there. Like, apart from the fact that
I think there would be a huge uproar if people were putting on accents.
Oh yeah, like, I don't agree. Now, it would have needed to been genuine.
They did try.
I know, but I don't know. I kind of understand why.
They're just not.
But to go as far as getting like an Italian American, and then you've got Phil Harris. I mean, I don't know where he's from, but wow, like, it's a really distinctive voice.
Yeah.
To an English voice.
Yeah.
To Liverpool voice. And then Car, and the elephants as well. Like, Ben even pointed out, he was like, "Oh, is that supposed to like represent the British Empire and how their takeover of India?" And I was like, "I'm assuming so because of when the book was written."
And the same with Shere Khan. With being English, he's the baddie. He's destroying.
Yeah.
He's destroying the nature of the country.
Yeah, so...
Very interesting time in British history.
Like that,
not necessarily the best, but very interesting.
Disney wouldn't have thought to... No. I don't think that was their thought. But in the book, I guess...
Yeah, it could be that there's more...
Yeah, maybe, but we've not read the book, so...
I'm not going to. Like, there's been somewhere it's like, oh...
Yeah.
But, no.
I felt that... there was good comedy. And there was
she did that on purpose.
Yeah. There was good, mainly obviously Baloo.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that if he wasn't in it, this film would not be good. Shere Khan is a good villain, but he's just not in it long enough. And it's such a shame because he was such a strong character, and yet he's just not in it long enough. And I don't feel the fear.
No.
Either.
It's almost a case of, because everyone's telling you that he's scary. Everyone's telling you, and it's, I suppose in a way it can be, you kind of feel like Mowgli feels. It's like, I'll just tell him. Yeah. Like, and in the end, he could be scary, but then...
Which could be the intent.
Yeah, I agree that he's a good villain, but not necessarily used well in the film.
No, and not given enough screen time. No. Just not. Even if we just saw him making his way, in cut scenes, it would have been But for him not to make an I had to double check because I couldn't believe that I was only seeing him at 47 minutes into the film. Unfortunately, like I said earlier when we were speaking about the songs, there's only 2 good ones.
But they are so good.
They are so good. And is that maybe the reason why people believe
Probably.
it's the best
Yeah.
or their favourite because of those 2 songs?
Yeah.
I mean, they're the 2 best scenes in the whole film. I wrote this down while I was watching it. I do want to make a point that when Baloo and Mowgli are singing the end of Bare Necessities and they're Baloo's on his back in the water.
Yeah. You can talk about that random lily pad that follows them.
Well, all the leaves and lily pads that follow them. I was like, oh my god, the detail.
Yeah.
Because if they weren't following alongside, you wouldn't think that water was moving. And I was watching it like, wow, that is so clever. Like that, because of them doing it with pencil, and trying to animate water moving.
Yeah.
To think, right, well, we need other things in there to make it look... And the fact as well that they actually move faster.
Yeah.
Like, they really go with the kind of... I was like, oh my god, I have to write that down. I'm so impressed. And just that tiny detail. And it's the sort of thing that Walt would have done years ago when he first started making the films. I'm not saying it's something that he would have picked up on, but... The guys that were making the film, that clearly was ingrained for them to think of those details, because that would have been something Walt would have said, in the early days, those little things.
So what was your overall score? And then
I'll
give
2.
A 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So for me,
okay,
the film takes quite a while to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the most exciting of beginnings.
No.
And to be honest with you, by the time you get to Car and the Elephants is when it starts picking up.
Yeah.
And then when Baloo walks in, it's the beginning, because then you get King Louie. That's where the 2 good songs are.
Yeah.
And then that's where the kind of tension comes in and everything. And I enjoyed the animation and the vision. Everything looked really good. I give it a 3.5.
Oh my god, Steve, I can't believe I've done a lower score, like a big lower score than you.
And the reason is, although I get what you say about, this is a generation holding on to a perfect film, I think it deserves the praise that it gets because of the songs and because of the characters. Not necessarily all of the characters, but Car is a really good character, and that voice is just the voice.
Yeah.
Baloo is Baloo.
Yeah.
King Louie, we've talked about Shere Khan being a good villain. Colonel Haffy is a good side character. There's a bit of fun there. The elephant never forgets, and then he forgets to say halt. Yeah. It's...
the comic moments were really good. But if they hadn't have gone down that road and made those comedy moments, the film would have been really difficult to watch.
Yeah. But they did, and it's not difficult to watch. The reasons why I didn't mark it higher than 3.5.
Okay.
One was because of the beginning.
Yeah.
It's a long, long beginning. And, you have the music, which sounds like the music in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's, in the ride when you're waiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I know where you're going. I was like, what is he on about? Yes.
No, it sounds like that. It's very, but it's long.
Yeah.
It's just very, very long, and it gets dropped off. And there's a bit of a comedy moment where he nudges him, and then that's when the baby cries. And then when Bagheera is looking after the Mowgli at the beginning, he climbs up the tree, and when he falls, it's that.
Yeah.
But nothing really nothing happens until Car, and that's the reason why it didn't get a higher score. If you was to start this film when Car comes in, I potentially think it could be a 4.5 from me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wanted to like it more than I did, and I just couldn't.
I just enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I didn't. It's not one that I would choose to put on.
I struggled not to pick up my phone.
Oh no, I was a good boy during this one. Don't
get me wrong, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I was like, God, if I wasn't watching this for the podcast, I'd be.
I wouldn't choose, and it's just because it's like you've just said, 47 minutes until Shere Khan turns up, and that's roughly the period when Car's there and Baloo and Louie. It's a long time to get it started up, and I think that's an issue with this era a little bit. Sword in the Stone almost, it doesn't really go anywhere. It's just a load of shorts. Mary Poppins I felt was an hour too long. And Mary Poppins Return is an hour too long as well. And unfortunately I think that's just this era. So
I mean, it'd be interesting, when we get to a film that we, for nostalgia reasons, hold on to as a good film, because I know my dad in particular, this was one of his all-time favourites, and I know a lot of people around his age do talk about this film as if, but in reality, do I agree that it's this good as they claim? No. And am I going to watch Beauty and the Beast and then think the same? I hope not, because I'm worried
about Robin Hood.
Oh, are you?
Yes, because Luke's been watching the films. He's a bit ahead than I am, but I am catching him up. And it was on while I was in the room, and now I've got my podcast analytical eye.
Oh.
I was a bit like, okay. So I'm very interested, very intrigued, because that was one of the first ones I watched, because I had it on video.
Right.
And I think it was recorded off the TV, but so in fact, yes, it was recorded off the TV, and someone put it on the end of my christening video. So I have had Robin Hood since being 4 months old. Yeah. So, and Winnie the Pooh as well.
Aww.
So this has been with me all the time, so I'd be interested to know. But yes, that was my...
Yeah.
I liked it more than you.
I know, I can't believe that. I mean, I really was shocked that I just couldn't give it more than a 2. It's simply because after I finished watching it, I thought I wouldn't choose to put this on.
See, I'd...
And now I can see why, when I have put it on before for the boys, I can see why they don't watch it.
Oh, you have to fast forward it. You have to fast forward it. I can't see why.
But yes.
Yeah. Well, on that note then.
Quiz time.
Yes,
so we're going to, jazz things up a bit for the second block.
Yes.
And we're going to do a quick fire quiz at the end of every episode. So I've got one for you, and I hope it's not too difficult for you, Stephen. When I came up with the quiz, and I thought, and then I was like, this could be quite hard.
Let's give it a go.
Okay, but so if anyone wants to join in, they can, and obviously let us know if you manage to get the answers. So I'm going to get my stopwatch.
Oh God, she's going for it.
Yeah, you have to be timed. Okay, so hold on, timers, right. So you have 20 seconds.
What, on each question, or?
No, it's just one question.
Oh, okay, just one question.
Yeah, just one question.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So you'll have 20 seconds, so I'll show you the timer. Okay?
That's fine.
I'll ask the question, and then I'll start the timer.
Okay.
Okay, so name all 5 Disney classics that feature a number in their title. Go.
3 Caballeros, You've got... oh, God. "101 Dalmatians."
Time.
Now, are you classing Frozen 2?
No.
Okay,
no sequels.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me see if I can think of any more then, because...
Oh, no, you had 20
No,
seconds.
I know, but I want to...
Okay.
I get that I only got 2.
Yeah, you did.
And how many was it?
2.
5?
There was only 5.
So... You're
going to kick yourself. Anyway, so listeners, Stephen could have said Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, Fantasia 2000.
Yes. Well, I never got up to there when I was going through them in my head.
And Big Hero 6. Not amused.
No.
If it was me, I think Fantasia 2000 would have been definitely one I wouldn't have gotten.
No.
But when I thought of the question, I instantly thought of Big Hero 6, Snow White, and 101 Dalmatians. Three Caballeros may have been one that I might have forgotten.
You see, I went back in time and I went...
And yet you skipped the first one!
Yeah, I tell you what, it's because I went... in my mind, I was going Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, and that's where,
Right, okay.
And I only got up, I was like, Beauty and the Beast, and he was like, no, that's your time, and I was like, oh no. I've only got up to 1991. So,
So, right, hope you enjoyed this week's episode, folks.
Yeah.
Not as long as others. And next week we're back with
the Aristocats.
2.5,
Jamie, 2.5.
where we're going to be in the 70s.
Yes.
A new decade.
A new decade and a new era.
Yes.
No more old.
No more.
Right.
Yeah, see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.